Hi guys, it's Becky, and today is new tool day for me. So, when I was putting together a list of tools for one of my other videos, I realized that it has been a while since I had first purchased some of my tools, and I've added to them as I've gone. Some of the things that I've added to my repertoire have been like this magical crimper, these tweezer nose pliers, and I still absolutely love these, and I will use them forever. My six-step bill making pliers, I love these, and I probably won't be replacing them unless they break. Unless they break. But for things like that I use every day for other things like these chain nose pliers and some of these round nose pliers, I realized that I had just bought like whatever was cheapest, whatever was available when I first started, and it was time for me to upgrade, for me to get something that, because repetitive stress injury is a thing. So I found these casual comfort tools from Beadsmith, and I was going to just get some chain nose pliers and some round nose pliers from them in this line, but then I saw that they had like this whole set, so I decided I'd pick up the set and do it that way. But these chain nose pliers, I've had them, they've been fine for me to use for a while, but they are a little bit smaller, and sometimes using them again and again for lots of things, repetitive injury is one of those things that happens. But also, like, some of these like cheaper tools, these round nose pliers, you can see they're offset a little bit, because they've been used so heavily, and it has like kind of ruined the point of them. Hold on, there we go. It's with that. So like, I mean, they're not good anymore. And so I've got two of them like that. So let's open this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open these up. We'll compare them with what I'm currently using. And then I'm going to use these. Like this week, I'm going to make a whole bunch of stuff with them so that I can do a comprehensive review. And for you guys, it'll be like you're just watching the one video, but for me, it'll be like a whole week-long deal. But yeah, so let's open this up. It comes in this cool little case, actually, and I kind of love this case. It's got like sketches of jewelry on it and stuff. It is really pretty. All right, but I didn't buy it for the case. It is nice to have a little case though, because this would be great to take with me when I'm traveling somewhere. All right. So it came with a couple of extra things that I don't really need, but I will probably use anyway. Like there were some snips. I already used snips, but if these are good snips, I can definitely use them with my jewelry making for cutting beading thread. It comes a little protector on it. I'm gonna stick that back there where it came, and then there's some tweezers that you can use for picking up individual beads or for pulling things through somewhere. So that's pretty handy. Don't know how often I'll use that, but some of these other ones I will definitely use more often, like these chain nose pliers. So these chain nose pliers, look how smooth they are on the inside. Let me pull out my other ones here so you can see kind of, these open a lot wider. This doesn't open as wide, and it's not as smooth on the inside. This already, before I've even used it for something, this is going to be great. Also, the hinge. This has a box hinge and this doesn't. So longevity wise, these are gonna, oh yeah, these fit really nicely in my hand. Like I don't need a big movement to open and close them. I just need a little bit of a movement. All right, so far I like it, but the proof is in the pudding, and we'll see how I like it after I've used it for a while. I'm gonna make some chain. I'll do some, I like how flat and shiny that is on the inside. That's very nice. Very, very nice so far. It fits really nicely in its little slot. All right, and here we go. We've got some round nose pliers again, nice and shiny and smooth. it opens up real wide. And then it doesn't take a lot of work to open and close it. My ends are true. And again, it's got another box joint. And that's one of the things that I was looking for when I was like, you know what, maybe I should upgrade these. Was looking for tools that had a box joint and tools that are going to have more longevity for me. All right, so let's get this one out. This is, oof, this has got a little bit of machining stuff, so it's not swinging as wide. I'll have to clean that out a little bit, but it is supposed to be a flush cutter. So let's see how it cuts. And if this isn't very good, it's fine because I do have some flush cutters that I use. Let's check that. Yeah, I'm gonna need to clean out this machining grit that's in there that's keeping this from popping open. It does cut the wire, and from the instructions on there, yeah, you can see that coming out there. I'll have to clean this off because you can see the machining oil and grit is in there. Yeah. I mean, if this is the least perfect tool in this bunch, that's fine. That's fine, because I do have flush cutters that I enjoy using and that are comfortable in my hands. These ones are very comfortable to use. They've got a wide grip. So here we go. Yeah, it's still a little sticky. I'll work on this outside of this video to get this cleaned off. But again, if the flush cutter is the only thing that is terrible about this set, then so be it. I have other flush cutters that I like. All right, and then these are flat nose pliers. And these ones have kind of a duck bill on the end. And they're flat like that. Instead of like with the chain nose pliers, where it's got the pointy rounded end. And you can just do different things with that. Like you get kind of a better, sharper bend sometimes with these. I do really like my tweezer nose pliers for a sharp bend. But these are also useful for that too. So I'm going to use all of these and I'm going to see how I like using them, see how they feel in my hands, see if I get any hand fatigue while I'm using them. And then I will do a comprehensive review at the end of this week and also show you what I've made because, you know, I'm going to be making stuff with them. And hopefully, if they're good, I'm definitely going to recommend them. If they're not that great, maybe I won't. We'll find out. See you then. So it is a few days later and I finished a couple of, well, not finished, but I've been working on a couple. I finished a couple. But I have been using these tools for those projects and I have some opinions and I'd like to share those with you and give you my full and comprehensive review of this tool set from the Beadsmith for their casual comfort tools. I might have made different decisions about what tools to include in a tool set like this. But for the most part, like my favorite ones, the best ones in here, are going to be these chain nose pliers. And I'm going to show you in a minute how they compare with the ones that I have been using. But also these round nose pliers. Like I'm definitely going to be using these more instead of these other tools that I've been using. I used the snips with a bead weaving project earlier this week, and it cuts right through wildfire with no fraying, no wonky edges, no having to like saw through it. So I'm pretty happy with the performance of these snips, and they're going to be a really great thing to keep in here to use with my stuff. I haven't used this, but it's tweezers, and there's nothing wrong with them. They're perfectly fine tweezers. This flat nose pliers, I used it for some things, and I can think of a few other things that I might use it for. I might not have included it in a tool set personally, but it came with this one, and so I've been trying to evaluate it and see how I liked using it. I will share some thoughts of this later in just a few. But then we've got the flush cutters, which are not actually flush cutters. These are semi-flush cutters. And let me show you real quick the difference between these and actual flush cutters. With these, there's kind of an indentation here. So the cutting edge is further away from the outside of the actual tool. Whereas with flush cutters, see how it's flush? That's the name. So you get a better, more square cut with it. These are just 2 pieces of 18 gauge wire that I cut with both of those. This one was with my flush cutter, which I bought these in bulk because I kept ruining them because I didn't have memory wire cutters and I was using them to cut memory wires. I have memory wire cutters now, and I haven't had any problems with this one since I got it and started using it a couple months ago, and it's still going strong, and I'm gonna keep using this. It's a good flush cutter. You see how it gets you more of a square end of a cut on that? That's the whole purpose of the flush cutter, whereas the semi-flush cutter that came with this, it does cut the wire, but then the wire has a little point at the end, so it doesn't cut it flush like you get with the actual flush cutter. So in my toolkit, because I love this this little tool carrying case, in this tool case, I'm going to replace those with these flush cutters. I'm going to keep this in here. It does cut wire. It does. And I'll show you in a minute when I demo some of this, how it does with the cutting wire and all of that. As far as the round nose pliers, you can see the handle is much wider, a little bit bigger. The size is about the same. This one's a little bit longer on the barrel. This one gets a little bit fatter further up the barrel than this one does. So you can get some bigger ones on there. For this one, you have to, I'm just going to demo opening and closing it. I have to make a bigger movement, and this presses into this part of my palm when I do it. So doing this for a while, you are going to get bigger movements. It requires a lot more of my tendons to expand and contract. For this, with this one, it doesn't sit higher in my palm, it sits back here. And I only have to use, to open and close it, a smaller movement. I don't have to squeeze it like I did the other one. I can do it with just a smaller movement and with just like 2 or 3 of my fingers, not even all of them involved in that. And I can use these other ones to direct my my work. And so with this, you know, to get the same kind of turn or twist, I have to make bigger movements. I have to involve my wrist with this one, whereas with this, I don't have to use my wrist at all. to do a twist, I can just do it with my fingers. So like comfort wise, if you're going to be doing a lot of loops and twisting a lot of things, this one is going to give you less fatigue over time. And the projects that I chose for this, I'll show you. I did a lot of twisting. I did a lot of twirling. I did a lot of loops on these projects because I wanted to see how well it did for repetitive use. And so these ones, they worked for a while, but they were like one of the cheaper ones that I could find. They did the job. I was happy with that. But longevity wise, upgrading to better tools, I'm going with these. I am happy with this purchase. And you can purchase these individually, so you don't have to get the set. You can get just these round nose pliers by themselves. If you wanted to get a good set of round nose pliers that were going to be easier to use, so you didn't have to, make such large movements. And I have a naturally strong grip. I was a competitive powerlifter. I can hold 450 pounds in my hands. And I'm barely doing anything with this. With this one, I did kind of have to squeeze a little bit harder on it, but this one I haven't been having to squeeze as hard. In fact, just picking this up and doing that, I'm starting to feel it here, whereas with this one, I wasn't really feeling any fatigue or stress. So, I mean, for me, my opinion, this is definitely worth it. Whether it's worth it getting it in the whole kit or not, probably if you want some of the other things or the actual zippered case, it might be worth it for that. But like these wire cutters to me weren't really worth purchasing because I have other flush cutters that work better. This one, I'll get to this one. But yeah, so my review of these is I'm happy with them. I like them. I'm happy to recommend them. And it's sort of the same with my chain nose pliers. This one, it wasn't very smooth on the inside. This is much smoother. But it's the same situation with these are bigger. I can do what I need to do with less effort and with smaller movements. So, over time, doing it repetitively it won't give me as much strain if I'm using these as opposed to this one, where, see, I'm making much bigger movements to do the same thing as I am with this one. Just, it feels easier. I felt like I had way more control over my wire and over what I was doing when I was using these two. So definitely the chain nose pliers and the round nose pliers are worth it, and I'm happy to recommend them. I'll put a link to these individual ones in the description. I'll also put a link to the whole kit if you want the whole tool set. But these for sure, worth it. All right, so these are going to go in my tools I no longer use box. I don't know what I'm going to do with those, but these are not my new replacement tools for that. Let me show you some of the things that I was making. Well, first of all, these, don't give me as sharp of a bend, and they aren't as easy to use for bending as my tweezer nose pliers. Like my tweezer nose pliers were a little bit better for that. But my tweezer nose pliers are very thin, so they're not so great for work hardening, where you open and close it. Whereas these are great for that. Smush that flat. And it gives me a good work hardening on that. So these are good for that. I think also I'm going to get some Tool Magic and dip the ends of this in here, because then they'll grip better and they will protect things a little bit more. But I think they'll be useful for me to work harden some of my wire working without having to pull out my bench block and hammer. and to be able to do that a little bit better and without as many marks left behind. Because I don't really care that much about marks, but it'll be better than using these if I use this flat pliers for that. So, I mean, for this, it's kind of a bonus that it came with that kit. I don't know that I'd go out of my way to purchase it, but now that I've got it, I'm going to use it for those purposes. It'll also, with this flat end here, be really good for closing the silver silk crimp ends, because you want that in a flat pliers, and if I dip it in the Tool Magic, it'll grip that a lot better than with the bare metal. So these are not a bad purchase. I don't feel like I lost value in my tool set by having them in there. I might, if I was on a trip and wanting to take this tool set, instead of bringing these with me, I might slide my 6-step bell making pliers in that tool set instead, because I do use those a lot more. And these would fit just fine in there. So those are my replacements, is some flush cutters that actually cut flush and a 6-step bale making pliers. And then the other two would go in the other side. And these are fantastic snips. You got tweezers, but like at the end of this, I'll show you my dream, my perfect toolkit. But anyway, so one of the things that I did with this, and I just wanted to show you what I made with it, I wanted to do lots of loops because that was the best way to test how comfortable it would be to work with, doing loops repetitively and all of that on this. And so these clover links, I actually watched a tutorial on Friday to learn how to make these, and I'll link that below. It was a live that Joyce Trowbridge did on the Softflex channel. She's been doing lives on Fridays where she just does instructional videos and does all of that with that. So I did some simple loop links here. I did some figure 8 or infinity links. I did some of these clover links, and I did all of this with some medium hard German style 18 gauge wire, because I wanted to use a wire that might be require a little more effort for bending and working with, in order to see whether I would get fatigued doing all of those loops, doing all of those things, and doing it repetitively when I was making this. So this is a completed necklace. I'm not doing a tutorial. This is not a tutorial video. But you know, if you want to, I'll show the figure 8 link at the end of this, and maybe this little hook that I made, because I haven't made a hook for my second necklace. or a closure. But yeah, I just did like a half of a thing for my my thing, and then added some drops. And all of the beads from this came from the Turkish carpet curated bead box. That was the November curated bead box. So you had these peach beads, and then you had these marble style brown beads. And that's what I did with this. And it was really easy. Like I said, it was kind of easier to work with these. And I used the bottom of the barrel for the size to wrap and get consistency with all of these. Like normally, if I want consistency with my links, I'm going to use the 6-step bell making pliers, but I wanted to test it with this, so that's why I used it. And I think I got some pretty consistent loop sizes out of it. Same thing with the these infinity links. I got some pretty consistent loop sizes out of it with that. So I did those. I also did some little matching earrings, you know, with those. And then I used These were from one of the companion bundles, and I'll put a link to my unboxing for that, for Bargain Bead Box, where they had the darker green aventurine instead of the light green aventurine, and then these like sunstone chip beads, and it was really pretty. But I went ahead and used 20 gauge dead soft wire for this one, and I did some wrapped loops and some simple loops for these links for that one, and I'll finish that one up actually on camera with you guys so you can see it in action. You can see it working with that. So let me move my German style wire out of the way. And oh, I made some little matching earrings, and I practiced doing some because I wanted to make some spirals with these, and the spirals were like almost effortless. Like they were really good. These spirals were very easy to make using those tools, so I was really happy with the result of that. Now let me show you real quick the wrapped loops that I made. And the wrapped loops, I used some of these sunstone chip beads. I used 2 small ones, 2 mid-size one, and 1 large one, and I kind of stacked them so that the smalls were on the edges. You had the mid-size ones in the middle, and then the large one in the center. So that's how I've been stacking them on there. Let me get this out of here. And I'm going to go ahead and use this for my little demonstration. Not because, just because I used it for the whole thing. I wanted to get good evaluation of these tools, so I used them for the entire situation. So let me get these stacked on there, because y'all know I like to work off the spool when I do my wrapped links and pre-string my beads onto the end of these so that I know how much of the wire needs to be cut after I do my first loop, instead of just estimating the whole thing and maybe over or underestimating it. All right, so I've got my about 2.5 inches here. I'm going to take my, I'm going about the middle of the barrel for this, bending it back first and then wrapping around the top, rotating it, going all the way through there. And with this dead soft wire, all you need to do is just push it like with your thumb, and it'll wrap all the way around. And this is another reason why it was a little bit frustrating that this isn't a flush cutter. It's because when I was cutting the end, I can't get right close to the edge of that. So you definitely have to, if you're going to use these, try to tuck the edge of this wire in to keep it from scratching things or catching on things. All right. So now that I'm on here, I like to angle my fingers and then cut here at the bottom of this finger. That's how I measure how long this is going to be. Okay, so for this, I'm going to actually bend this over there and then move up to the middle of the barrel instead of bending it over the chain nose pliers, just because I didn't feel like dropping pliers and picking them up again. And this is very comfortable to hold while I'm doing this. It doesn't take a lot of effort. I don't have to squeeze hard to hold this, which is great. It's holding really well. Oh, also, once I cleared that grit out of the join here, this popped right open. Like before I'd close it, it would stay there. And this was the only one that still had that grit in there from the machining. So it was probably just a one-off. If you were to buy a kit, you probably wouldn't experience the same thing, I'm guessing. All right. So again, it doesn't get flush. It doesn't get that close to the edge of where you're cutting. So these are not my favorite cutters. Comfortable handles, not so great at cutting. And that makes my link there. And then for the other one with the, because I wanted to do two different types of links. One that's wire wrapped, one that is a simple loop link. So for the other one, I used more of these Sunstone, the faceted rounds, the larger aventurines rounds, and come on, buddy. You know what? I'm just going to cut this off here. And see, it's not super flush to begin with, but I made all of these other ones the same way. So with this, I'm going to, it's about 3/4 of the way up the barrel from the bottom that I start with my loop. And it makes it kind of a P loop. So then if I stick this under here and rotate this to just below the loop and push back, it gets me more of that lollipop look. And I'm just going to close that up a little bit better. And here's where I can flatten this out and work harden that loop a little bit using these wide pliers. You can see that work hardened that pretty well for that loop. All right, now let's get this guy on here all the way. There we go. And one of the things that I was testing with this was how sharp and close of a bend I could get using these flat nose pliers. So this is what I was testing with this one, was whether I could get a sharp bend that's close to the bead without breaking these delicate gemstone beads, because if you bend too close and cause them to rub against the tooling, the gemstone bead will break. They can be very delicate like that. So let's go ahead and measure against the side of our finger. Where my fingernail is where I'm going to cut. And I've got my round nose pliers again. Straighten that out. Give this a little squish to work harden my loop. I'm going to use these to swing open my loop, attach it to my chain, swing open this second loop, attach this one, and that's both lengths of my chain. So let me finish up this necklace on camera, and then I will give you a rundown of all of this as far as which of these tools are my faves, which of them aren't, and how I like them. And I think the way that I'm going to finish this is I've got this lampwork bead that came in that bundle. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous lampwork bead, and I'm just going to bookend it with more of these faceted gemstone beads. And let me grab some of this for that. I think I want some, yeah, some wrapped loops. So I'm gonna just cut this off. Start over here, do another wrapped loop. I'm using, again, the 20 gauge wire for this. Let's flatten this out. Kind of really dislike having this long tail of wire sticking out because I can't get close enough to it with this. And it's pointy. Not my favorite. Not my favorite. It's fine though, because I didn't buy the set for that tool. I bought the set for the other tools and for the case. if I'm going to be real honest, I love that case. I think it's a cute and fun case, and I've opened and closed it several times. The zipper seems well supplied in there. Okay. And for this one, I am going to use this to bend over my wire. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to attach this to my chain. You know what? That's fine. That's fine though, because I'll grab a jump ring, or it's fine. It's fine. I'm not redoing it. It's totally fine. It is totally fine. I was so busy talking about the tools that I forgot about what I was making. Which, I mean, to be fair, I am doing a review, a product review, and not a tutorial, so it's fine. It's just fine. But yeah, let's do a closure, because I had some fun making the closure on the other one. Well, that is very useful for keeping my jump ring solid and sturdy. That's nice. So maybe it is fortunate, because I didn't play around with jump rings at all when I was doing this the first time. All right. So let me show you that figure 8 link, because that's going to be one end of my closure on this. All right. So for the figure 8 link, and I am using the German style wire for this. Let me is medium hard and it is 18 gauge. I'm just using my fingers to warm it up. My dog Natalie is shaking her head a lot because when the weather changes, her ears get very itchy. It's just something she does. So I'm gonna go ahead and pitch this pretty close to the bottom of this barrel, just so I can get a nice wide loop. And now that that's down there, I'm going to pinch this on the other side and bring this wire all the way around until it passes that part right there. And see, it makes a figure 8. And then this next part, right there where it meets it, I am going to cut my wire there. I'm just going to swing this out so I can fit my wire cutter in to that spot right there. And these would be neater if I was using flush cutters, but it's okay because I'm just evaluating this, and I'm just pulling this closer to where this meets the other one, just for aesthetics sake. It doesn't have to be close to that one. I just like the way it looks. And now I'm going to work on harden this. You can see how it's a little wonky and not very flat. Oop. Remember, I was going to use this instead of that one for work hardening. I'm just giving it a good squish all the way around. You can do this you can see the way that the light shines on it, that it's kind of flattened it out a little bit. This is a good solid link that I am going to put on one end of my necklace. Just going to swing this open in this direction so I can put my loop on there. And now I'm going to make a little hook similar to this one for the other end. All right, so for this hook, let's trim this end just a little bit. And I am going to use just the tip of my round nose pliers and make a very small loop all the way there to the end. And now I'm going to take this and bend it back. Towards this end. That I was using about the middle of my barrel for that one. And now I'm going to want to make a little loop here. So I'm going to cut about there. That'll work. And now I'm going to bend my wire to the side from the direction that this loop is going. I can use my round nose pliers and my finger to bend it around there. And there where that meets that, I'm going to use the cutter again to cut that down to size. And now I'm going to use the round nose pliers to kind of straighten that out and get that loop to meet the other side. So So now I've got a little hook that I can attach to my necklace. I'm going to swing this open, attach it to the end. And I've got a closure. All right, so I have these two finished items. I have some earrings that I made that I use the scissors with. I have some other earrings that go with these. And I am very happy with these two. I am very happy with the case. I'm very happy with these snips. And like I said, my ideal, kind of perfect, if I'm taking this on vacation with me or traveling, and I want to have all of my tools with me that I'm going to use, it's probably going to be these, where I've got my 6-step bell buckling pliers, my actual flush cutters, these snips, some chain nose pliers, and round nose pliers all together. And then I could put a little vial of beading needles in here, and scooch these guys over just a tidge and fit my magical crimpers right here. And it still closes. So I could take this on a trip with me. Could bring my travel beadboard with my kits and things up here, and then have my tools in this separate case. I kind of love this idea. So I could bring my little projects up here in this one, have my beadboard, have my tools. It's I love the case. I'm really happy with the case. It is small and compact, but it packs a punch with this. So these are the ones that I'm happy with the case. I'm happy with most of these tools. These two, like this does the job. It cuts wire. It's just not a flush cutter. And this one I am finding more uses for, but mostly it's going to be wire working that I am going to be using this, and for work hardening it, and possibly for using with the silver silk stuff. But I am going to want to dip the ends in some tool magic and then keep them around for that. So this is another one that I'm pretty happy with, but I love, love, love this. So I'll put a link to the full kit. I'll put a link to the chain nose pliers if you just want to get those individually, or the round nose pliers. They are very comfortable to use. I am quite happy with this purchase, and they work really well. And after making a few things with them, and a few things that do take a lot of twisting and turning and cramping and plying and doing all of that, using them, I had very little fatigue, hand fatigue from doing that, especially these ones with like lots and lots of loops. It worked pretty well for me for that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review of the Casual Comfort tool set, and let me know what you think of that. If you've used them before, if you have other pliers that are comfortable and reduce fatigue when you're using that, I'd love to hear about it. And anyway, happy beading. Bye.